In this age of highlight reels and daily routines and mini vlogs, and this is my self-care routine. Self-care is not the thing that's going to cure you, especially not the type of self-care that you're seeing on social media. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome or welcome back to EGO Initiative. My name is Yemina. In today's Wellness Wednesday chat, I'm going to be talking about a few things here. I really want to talk about, kind of refresh our memories on what self-care means in this community, or how I define self-care for myself. I share this definition with my clients and my community as well. We're going to talk about burnout culture and this culture of like hashtag goals and inspiration from what you see on Instagram. So I don't really have like a set title, to be honest. And for the very first time, I don't have my notes in front of me. This is a bit of a rant, but of course, I'm going to give you some tips to guide you through some of the things that I'll be ranting about, things that you shouldn't do, and then give you tips for things that you could start to practice in order to shift your mindset so that you're not falling into these traps around self-care routines and 5 a.m. morning routines and things of that nature. So let's hop right into it. The thing that sparked this conversation for me really is I saw a graphic or a meme or whatever have you on social media, and it said, I don't know who needs to hear this, but self-care does not cure burnout, or something along those lines. I really resonated with that statement because a lot of the times when we collectively feel something as a community, when people are starting to speak out about something, then it gets to a space of, that conversation folks used to have about like underground hip-hop, and then now it's too mainstream. It's similar in that sense that I love that everyone's talking about self-care, but now it seems that self-care is the solution to everything. I'm here to tell you that it is not. Self-care is not the solution to everything, especially the types of self-care that people are engaging in and thinking it's self-care. That is not going to be the solution to burnout. If you're someone who's constantly overwhelmed, constantly tired, constantly exhausted, and you have anxiety, it's turning into depression, you're literally walking around on autopilot. Self-care is not the thing that's going to cure you, especially not the type of self-care that you're seeing on social media. We are in the space of self-care being commercialized. It's highly commercialized, and it's this thing that, you take a day to do, you step away, you relax, and it's all of these comfortable, like feel good things. And not to say that you shouldn't indulge in those things. You should be indulging in those things on a regular basis, to be honest, so that when you do indulge in it, it doesn't feel like it's like, oh, this vacation from your life. It should be embedded in your lifestyle already. And so when you are at a space where you are completely burnt out, going to the spa isn't going to cure anything. Going to the spa might make you feel better for 30 minutes, but you get home and all of your problems are still at home there. Genuine self-care helps you get to the root of why you are experiencing what you are experiencing, and then it guides you through the systems that you need, or the tools that you need, the resources that you need to work through whatever it is that's coming up in your life. And so having self-care systems doesn't necessarily mean that you're never going to experience stress and anxiety or overwhelm. It just means that when you do start to experience that, you already have a routine or a practice or a system in place for you to move through that experience and move through that emotion or whatever it is that you're feeling in that time. And so I'm going to repeat the definition that we have for self-care in this community, as I always do whenever we are talking specifically about self-care. And it is that self-care is a right and responsibility to yourself first and foremost, and then your broader community, to know yourself, know better, and then do better. I always start with this definition because it's going to look different for everybody, because our lifestyles are different, our needs are different, our daily routines are going to be different. And so my focus is not to tell you what you should do for self-care, but give you a broad definition for you to be able to plug in what it looks like for you in your lifestyle. And so I think it's really important that we are defining certain things for ourselves and seeing how it actually fits, and then going through a trial and error phase to see if this actually works. Even if you have a concept of like, this might happen. For example, on a more personal note, there are some things that I talk with my support group, so to speak. So like my counselor, my therapist, my coach, and people in my life where I talk through certain things with, where there's sometimes where I don't feel like a certain way that I'm doing things, a certain routine or a certain system that I have in place is working in a particular season of my life. And sometimes I need those reminders, like, you already have these systems in place. Why don't you try a different way of doing this? Why don't you try a different approach? You do it this way. Why don't you just shift a few things around and maybe things will pan out a little bit differently? I say all that to say it really is a trial and error sometimes to figure out what works best for you and your lifestyle, but also in a particular season. The other thing that I'm noticing is that folks are really just almost copying and pasting what self-care looks like for them. The usual things come up, like getting your nails done. I've seen a YouTuber that does my updated self-care routine, and it's really just getting a bunch of spa products and smell goods and, taking the day to sort of relax and all of that stuff. And again, that's really just maintenance things that you should be doing on a consistent basis, because doing that is really just waiting until your car is completely empty before you put gas in your car. Because putting gas in your car isn't self-care, it's just a maintenance thing. But the actual getting your oil changed, making sure that you have the right tires in the wintertime, and cleaning your car on a consistent basis and making sure that it's running smoothly. If you compare it, that's the actual self-care piece. But again, the maintenance stuff, the putting the gas in your car, you don't wait till it's completely empty. You'll be in the middle of nowhere. So you have to be mindful about when your tank is about to get empty, and then having a regular routine of filling up your tank. Like, you should be aware of those things. And so it's really all about having a system in place for self-reflection and then accountability to, this thing is happening in my life. What am I going to do to change that? What am I going to do to improve that? Who are the people that I need to reach out to for support? What are the resources that I need to tap into in order to support me through this new change that I'm going to make in my life? All of those things are the actual self-care piece. Don't wait until you are feeling burnt out to start to figure out those pieces. You start to figure it out beforehand. Even now, if you are currently burnt out, there are some steps that you can start to take so that the next time you'll start to recognize some of the symptoms before you're about to feel burnout, right? And so you'll be able to handle that. But if you are someone who's currently experiencing burnout, I encourage you to take some time to just simply pause. You just need to stop for a second and be intentional about being clear on what exactly you are feeling, reasons why you're feeling this way. Ask yourself these questions to get to the root of it. Because if you're not able to get to the root of it, then you'll be in this consistent cycle of, okay, I practice self-care for this one day, and then 2 days later you're burnt out, a week later, a month later you're burnt out, and then you practice a little bit of self-care. You need to be able to know yourself, know better, and then do better so that you're not stuck in this cycle. Does that sound familiar? That's my self-care definition. And so I really encourage you to take a step back and think about what self-care actually means for you personally before you start trying all these tactics that you see on social media. In this age of highlight reels and daily routines and mini vlogs and this is my self-care routine, I just want to encourage you to take a step back and make sure that you are not just perpetuating what other people deem to be self-care, which really just is maintenance that you should be doing on a daily basis anyways. You should be practicing self-care every day. You should be maintaining yourself on a regular basis, whatever that looks like for you. But I encourage you to take a step back to really examine yourself and figure out what is actually plausible in my life, what actually makes sense, what is conducive to my actual lifestyle, what are the needs of myself, the people in my family, the people that I live around, what are their needs as well? Are they in alignment with what I need? And if not, what am I going to do in those situations so that I'm not pouring from an empty cup, so to speak? Even that analogy is a whole other conversation that we'll have another day, but I did want to share that unfiltered rant about the idea that self-care isn't a one-size-fits-all. It's not going to cure anything if you are not actually creating systems around what your self-care looks like. If you're not clear on the definition of what self-care is, if you are not creating a system that works for you when it comes to your self-care, and if you're not constantly in a state of self-reflection, self-awareness, and self-accountability, then you're just doing it all for nothing. You're basically just pouring water into a cup that has a hole in it and it's dripping out, and it's just this weird cycle that you are in. So I said that I wanted to share some tips with you as well. So like I said, self-care isn't a one-size-fits-all, and self-care is more of a self-reflection, self-awareness, and then self-accountability. So with that being said, I've shared this on the channel before, but I'm going to share it again. I'm going to always keep sharing it. I have a particular framework that I use that's really, really key for those of you who are looking to kind of restructure and reorganize what self-care looks like for you. We are in an age of information where you can learn so much on YouTube, but when you're not able to self-reflect and apply the information to your actual life, then you're just collecting information for no reason and it's not really getting you anywhere. And so this framework that I've created really helps you to organize the information that you receive and then think, how does this apply to my life? So the framework that I'm talking about is my peace model for self-reflection. It is an acronym. I love a good acronym. And also the word peace, who doesn't want peace in their life, right? And so the acronym stands for personal, that's the P, emotional, accountable, culture, your personal culture, and then your environment. And so I break down that framework and how to apply it to your particular life in my Prioritizing Your Wellness course. If you are interested in the course, see the description box below. I'll leave a link there that explains what the course is all about, what you get from the course, who the course is for. Really briefly, it is for anyone who is looking to reorganize what self-care looks like in their lives. It's for the busy stay-at-home mom who has multiple things on the go, the busy student, the busy entrepreneur, or you're a caregiver, you take care of multiple people. If you are anyone who does more than one thing, which is majority of us, right? If you're a woman who is like, I am the go-to person in my friend group, in my family, I have a business, I have a 9 to 5 also that I'm working full time. If you do all of the things, if you're anything like me and you wear multiple hats, then this course is definitely for you. And like I said, it helps you organize and get clear on one, what self-care could look like in your life, but also creating a system around prioritizing your wellness on a consistent basis so you're not falling into the trap of being burnt out and then practicing little like self-care tactics here and there, which are really just maintenance routines, and then finding yourself depleted again or exhausted or overwhelmed and burnt out in the next few days, weeks, months. It helps you get out of the cycle. And it's not to say that you'll never be ever stressed out in your life, or you'll never be overwhelmed, or you'll never experience anxiety, but it is to say you'll be well equipped when those feelings come up, when those experiences come up. You will have the tools and the resources, and you'll have a roadmap and a guideline for you to move through those things that you are feeling. I hope that this little rant and also the tips at the end supported you. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If there's things that resonated with you, let me know in the comments. If there are things that you already knew, I would love to hear how you are actually putting those pieces into practice. And again, if you want to learn more about my Prioritizing Wellness course, check out the link in the description box for more details. And of course, if you just want to be a part of the tribe, all you got to do is subscribe. Make sure that you are staying hydrated, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace and love.